With all of the bad news we've been bombarded with when it comes to climate change lately, you'd think that just from a psychological standpoint, people would begin to start getting desensitized. Because I feel like your brain just has a way of shutting out bad news in order to protect you, but I really don't get the sense that people are becoming desensitized. If anything, I think the opposite is true. I think that people are becoming increasingly worried about climate change, and this is due to the onslaught of bad news we keep receiving. I mean, this isn't new. We've been getting a lot of bad stories with regard to climate change where scientists are warning us that it's worse than they anticipated and it's happening faster than they expected. But I think that the IPCC's report published last year really put everything into perspective for us, because in giving us this really short timeline that we have 12 years to act to stop catastrophic levels of climate change, I think that just kind of it did something. It flipped a switch and really gave us that perspective that we were previously lacking. Because so long as you have this amorphous idea that climate change is coming, but you don't necessarily know when and how long you have to act, you can kind of put it off in your mind. But in giving us that 12-year timeline, it really does put things into perspective. So with that being said, in addition to all of the bad news we've received, we got probably one of the more terrifying stories. I mean, there's been a ton of different stories that have really shook me to my core recently. The dying of plankton, which spells disaster for the habitability of our planet and species on this planet. But we have a new story that doesn't bode well for the survival of our ecosystem. And scientists, I think they're to the point where they've given us all the warnings that we need. Now it's just a matter of acting. But this new news that we're receiving, it is chilling, to say the absolute least. So as Damien Carrington of The Guardian reports, the world's insects are hurtling down the path to extinction, threatening a catastrophic collapse of nature's ecosystems, according to the first global scientific review. More than 40% of insect species are declining, and a third are endangered, the analysis found. The rate of extinction is 8 times faster than that of mammals, birds, and reptiles. The total mass of insects is falling by a precipitous 2.5% a year, according to the best data available, suggesting they could vanish within a century. The planet is at the start of a 6th mass extinction in its history, with huge losses already reported in larger animals that are easier to study. But insects are by far the most varied and abundant animals, outweighing humanity by 17 times. They are essential for the proper functioning of all ecosystems, the researchers say, as food for other creatures, pollinators, and recyclers of nutrients. Insect population collapses have recently been reported in Germany and Puerto Rico, but the review strongly indicates the crisis is global. The researchers set out their conclusions in unusually forceful terms for a peer-reviewed scientific paper. The insect trends confirm that the 6th major extinction event is profoundly impacting life forms on our planet. Unless we change our ways of producing food, insects as a whole will go down the path of extinction in a few decades, they write. The repercussions this will have for the planet's ecosystems are catastrophic, to say the least. The analysis, published in the journal Biological Conservation, says intensive agriculture is the main driver of the declines. Particularly, the heavy use of pesticides, urbanization, and climate change are also significant factors. So I think that the story pretty much speaks for itself. My commentary is really not needed here. There's nothing that I can add to supplement this discussion. Like you, I'm terrified. Millennials and Gen Z, they're the first generation that has to worry not necessarily whether or not they'll be able to retire, because that's certainly a concern, but they're going to have to worry about whether or not they'll be able to survive what will most likely be catastrophic levels of climate change and the decimation of species because of human beings. It is horrifying, and we just simply don't have the political will and the urgency needed to act. We need to not just focus on climate change mitigation, but adaptation as well, because climate change is already here. So we need to learn how to adapt if we want to survive, but we also need to mitigate further damage. And I mean, look at the response to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal. There's just no urgency. There's attacks from the mainstream media, primarily Fox News, of course, who are more concerned about paying for it than anything else. Well, we can address climate change, but make sure you do it in a way that doesn't impact the deficit negatively. Well, look, just taking a step back and looking at this from the standpoint of an alien. Pretend as if you're not from Earth and you live on the moon and you're looking at just that blue marble. These concepts that we've made up, such as the deficit and money, these are all foreign to that alien. You have no idea. All you see, as an outsider, looking at the Earth as a whole, is that because of political limitations that we've imposed on ourselves, because of our inherently tribalistic nature as a species, we're choosing to not act as we witness our planet dying. Now, all these insects and endangered species that are dying off, they have an excuse. They don't know. But for human beings, we know that this is coming and that extinction may be inevitable even if we do everything we can, but we're still not doing what we need to be doing. We came together before to stop the hole in our ozone layer, and we solved that crisis. But now, since this is a problem that is incredibly complex and esoteric, we're choosing not to do it. And it's sad. It really is sad. The United States is just one country in, an international global sphere of politics, but the level of influence that they have, it can't be understated. They really could make a difference. We could make a difference, but we're choosing not to. Our president is literally still trying to disprove climate change by pointing to the existence of snow. You're not disproving it, you're proving it further, because extreme weather patterns are going to become more frequent. Scientists warned us of that, and we're seeing that now. But these politicians, they're old. Donald Trump is in his 70s. He doesn't have to care about climate change. He doesn't have to worry about future generations because he's not going to be around to see Florida underwater. He's not going to be around to see what will happen when wars will be waged literally over water shortages in the Middle East and North Africa. He is not going to see that, and a lot of our lawmakers aren't going to see that. And this includes Democrats as well. They may not necessarily deny climate change, which is a good thing. It's a step in the right direction. But if you don't have the urgency to act and the desire to act, then you're part of the problem. I'm sorry. So I don't know what to say anymore. We just keep getting hit with more bad news after bad news, and it may be too late. But we did this to ourselves. We all could be doing more, and we're not.